Hello everyone, welcome back to Blender where we are creating or building really, the Akira class starship from Star Trek. What we're going to go ahead and start on today is we are going to be working on the saucer section. I explained a little bit in the last episode that the reason of about why I'm going to go ahead and start focusing on this is because before I feel comfortable of putting in some details that belong onto this catamaran style hull, I need to get that done. I mean, usually in the past episodes, and I mentioned in the first episode that we were going to start off first like with the weapons pod and work our way kind of down, finish the weapons pod, get the details, to where it's, within a relative, let's say 90%, finished, and then we'll move on to the next portion, which then we move on to the next portion and so on and so forth. However, though, the reason of about why we are skipping just a little bit and moving on to this before we finish with the catamaran style hull is because there's some details that before I work them in on the catamaran style hull, I need to make sure that I have that saucer section exactly where I want it. For one example, if we take a look, let me see if I can get into the right view, there's like a little enclave or a little recessed area right here into the hull where there appears to be windows, and that's recessed all the way up to where the saucer section's at. But according to this side view here, it looks like that the saucer section might be just a little bit up too high in this center area here. But I'm not quite high enough, nor am I far enough out on towards the edges here. And if we look into the front view, let me go ahead and lower the opacity on that. It looks like that we are just about right from this perspective, but you go from one perspective, it doesn't look right. I mean, it looks like I need to put more of a gradual slope right here. But anyways, before I go ahead and start cutting in the details into this, I want to go ahead and finish this, or at least rough out this portion to where it's about, let's say 60%, you know or not even really that. Let's just, well, at least where it's comfortably within the actual shape of the secondary saucer of what of the shape it should be, so I can cut in those details just once, because I hate to cut in the details now, windows, hull details and stuff, and then once I get started working on this, I realize I have all my edges wrong, the contours wrong, and then so I have to go back in and adjust everything onto this secondary hull here, because that's just going to be a bit of a nightmare. So we're going to be working on that, and then we are going to be moving back onto the weapons pod for two reasons. The We may not be able to get to anything on the catamaran style hull today, but we're going to go back onto this because I've looking around on the web and also watching a video that was posted on trekyards.com. They showed a model which was allegedly this supposed to be the actual model, CG model, that was used in Star Trek First Contact, and it was very low poly. So it was either, and they did say that the models that was used in or First Contact were low poly. It's just that this one right here was secondary. The Akira class was secondary to the hero ship, which was the Enterprise, as far as details were concerned on CG models. And actually, I don't even think that was a CG. Actually, I take that back. That wasn't a CG model Enterprise, but they did CG work on all the rest of the, or majority of the ships. I think the Defiant was a physical model. I think the Miranda classes were physical models. Oh, I really don't know, but I do know that the Akira, the Steam Runner, the Saber class were all CG models. But anyways, long story short, looking at that model, and it looks like back here on these torpedo tubes, there's not supposed to be four, but it's actually supposed to be only two. Because if you look at the model, and actually you can kind of see here that I am a little bit off on it, is that all what they did was is they just took this front piece here, this front, torpedo launcher, and just pretty much like what I did, and they just cut and pasted to put it on the edges. But these edges here, and you can actually, yeah, you can see it right there, cuts off into the model. So there's really no clearance for a torpedo to launch out of those tubes. So with that being, and even right there, there's really no clearance. Maybe clearance going out this way, but it's very, very close to this hull. If that guidance system is out just a little bit and it veers off as soon as it leaves that tube just a little bit, you're going to tear into the hull. So it looked like they have always intended to make just only two torpedo launchers facing towards the back portion of the ship. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this. Really, it's only fixing just this portion here, deleting those and remodeling new torpedo launchers, or just modifying these torpedo launchers just to kind of fit both what's inside here, but only to give them two. And there's going to be some interpretations, because I'm going to try to have one of these contours, like this one right here, facing backwards, and another contour here facing out to the side. So rather than just having it to where there's one, two, there needs to be one facing straight towards the back, kind of like how these are right here. Now in my model, you can see there's clearance to where these could be shooting out to the back, but my model is not quite lining up. Because, yeah, you could see theirs is a little bit wide. Right there is where the second portion comes in, but I went out a little bit wider. So I could just keep it just as it is. You even have a little bit of clearance, enough clearance right there, as opposed to this model here that they used. Or not this model, but the model that they got these orthos off of. But I'm going to go ahead and just go with an interpretation of modifying that and both of these, because also I think that that's just way too many torpedoes, on that, on this ship, just for this ship. I mean, the Federation, they're not about war. I mean, yeah, they're definitely getting into war times by the time that this ship was probably launched, with the Dominion War going on and the Borg thread and everything. But, I still don't see the Federation doing that. So, it's going to be heavily armed, but it's still, I kind of see this vessel being a, either, a carrier, um, possibly exploration, but also planetary evacuation or station evacuation, because of how much space that there's potentially inside the ship, especially with the cargo holds, you know, with the many shuttles that it carries, for them to evacuate. So, and even if you look at the Miranda class was supposed to be a science, quote unquote, science vessel, but it was heavily armed to the teeth, even heavier armed than the heavy cruiser of the Enterprise. So we're going to go ahead and start working on that. I'll get started on the saucer section, and then we'll get done with that. And I might also go ahead and start adding in some seams. And if you don't know what I mean by adding in seams, you'll see when I get there. So I'm going to cut right back out for just a second, and we'll cut right back in, and we'll get started working on this. All right, I have went ahead and deleted the old mesh and went ahead and put in a brand new one to get started, at least on the basic shape of the hull. I made sure that there were a lot more edge loops in it, therefore it's going to make it a lot rounder. And I'm going to try a couple of different tricks with this to try to kind of minimize the number of vertices that I'm putting into it, but still keep it smooth. So, excuse me. So I'm going to try to avoid using the subsurf modifier. It may work, it may not work. I don't know. It's all a part of experimentation. So we'll see what kind of happens here, and we'll go from there. So as I said, I went ahead and laid down the base formation, added in about 48 vertices on a circle, and then slowly started working on them going both up and down, trying to follow the guidelines of the picture as much as possible. There still seems to be some areas where it may not be 100% accurate, but I think it's going to be close enough. So we can go from there. It's a good starting point, I believe. I mean, from the best that I can tell looking at the images from the side, let's go ahead and I thought I had that removed. I'll fix that in a minute. This little side piece here. Actually, I know how to fix that, so I'll fix that in a minute. But anyways, let's see. Whoops, nope, wrong one. We need to go to, no, that's back. Um, Here it is. Actually, you know what? That's actually pretty darn close from what we can see. Yeah, okay, I'm definitely a lot happier with that. So that's going to give it, well, it's not quite where we want it to be in the front, but that's close enough. It might not be 100% accurate, and I could always probably work with those details. But I also, part of working back here is also to work on the the back cargo bay. So we need to go ahead and kind of flush that out. So let's go ahead and work into that. Oops. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and cut a block out of this that looks like it goes into. I'm going to pull up a picture here. I know y'all won't be able to see it, but a picture from the back. I'm using the four orthos. Ah, okay. I see how it goes. All right. So what I'm going to want to do, let's go ahead and go to the bottom here, is, oh, oops. Okay. I do have a bottom view. Okay. There we go. All right. Those are pretty close. I think once again, I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to worry about this. We're going to go ahead and kind of cut into this front portion here and cut into the back portion as well. Now there's several ways that we can do this. I think I'm going to go ahead and go the route of, we're going to try using a Boolean operation first just to see how that kind of works out. And let's see. So, well, let me see. Yeah, let's try a Boolean operation. If you're not familiar with what that is, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and this piece, I'm leaving it as such. I'm going to do a Shift A to add in a plane. Let's go into the object modifier and make sure that it's centered along the z-axis. And I don't have mirror yet applied to this, so I don't have to have this mirrored either. Oh, I put in a plane, didn't? Well, that's okay. Oh, no, I didn't want that. Let's go into edit mode. We're going to go ahead and extrude this down along this path. And let's go ahead and bring these in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, a cube with the same dimensions of this area that we're wanting to cut out. So we go from there. Well, let's see. Oh, I'm terribly sorry again. Let's see. Scale along the Z. Let's move that out more along the X axis like that. There we go. So as you can see, it's kind of intersecting into that. So we go into object mode and I'm going to go ahead and select this. Now I don't have to give this a name, but I'm just going to go ahead and before you had to give it a name if you had a whole bunch of primitives that you were using. So I'm just going to call this block 1. I really don't need it now, but just in case you're using an older version of Blender, you might want to probably name that. So I'm going to select this. We're going to go into the add modifier and I'm going to select the Boolean editor. Now they have this dropper box where I can just come over here and select that box. And then here you have the abilities to choose your operation. It can either be the difference, where what it does is that it deletes the entire mesh except for the part of the mesh that intersects with this block here. There is a union where it should, well, why did it not do it? Normally, okay, I might have had this backwards, but normally the union would be taking this piece and this piece, but we're going to go ahead and do an intersect. So what that should do, and if I was to take this and move this onto a different, to a different field, you could see what it's doing. It's cutting into that block. So that kind of gives us our look right there, which is what we're wanting. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. So we select this. Oops, nope, I select this and we're going to go ahead and apply that. And now if we go into edit mode, excuse me for 1 second, please. My son's wanting me. So, all right. So what it did is it went ahead and it cut through that. Now, as you can see, there's a couple little issues that we're having with it, and that's all a part of just going through and just kind of cleaning up the mesh, which there are several different ways of how we can do that. One method that I can go ahead and do is I can just start doing, Boolean or not Boolean operations, but select, you know, delete this entire face and add it in. Another way is that I can go ahead and select that, whoops, no, I don't want to do that. Do a control V and do a connect vertex path, and that's going to go ahead and draw a vertice along there, and it's keeping it as a quad, which is pretty good. So, and this is going to come into handy when I'm trying to separate the mesh. I know that Blender can now handle, more than quad. I can't think what they're called. They're not quads. They're not tris. But they have multiple faces, multiple edges. They're more complex polygons. But I'm going to go ahead and try to turn everything into quads. I just like quads, and I like the way that it it kind of helps with the with putting in edge loops. There's a couple of issues there. Actually, you know what? That didn't quite turn that into two faces. So I might have to go the route of deleting the edge. But as you see here, I mean, this right here, this is all one edge. But, if I'm trying to put an extra edge loop here, it's going to stop here because it doesn't see that edge loop continuing. But what I could do is go ahead and that's what we're going to go ahead and do, delete this face like that. And I'm going to go in and select this face, these vertices, and turn that into a face. Now here, I'm going to go ahead and join that vertex to that vertex. I don't think it's going to mess up the contours of the mesh terribly bad, so I think I'll be happy with that. So we're just going to go through, and I should probably really be doing this once I apply that mirror modifier on, but we're just going to go ahead and continue. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and what you'll see is by now having that, if I want to put in a edge loop, see, now it goes all the way through. It still won't go through there because that's a try, and I could probably, if I put an extra edge loop along here, just between there, I could actually turn that into a quad, which will continue that through. And I might have to do that, but I'm just going to do that as need arise. Let's go ahead and delete that face, and let's go with the route of, let's see, there. Let's see, we got that. We got that. They look about the same as far as the way they're drawn. Yes, I definitely don't like that. Looks like it just drew a different, yeah, okay. Delete edge. Oh, no, see, now, okay, that was weird. Or maybe, maybe I might have done something different on that one. Control V, connect vertex path. Okay, there it goes. It separated it. All right, so you could do that. I'm sorry, I must have just pressed E or F or something. I don't know. I must have done something different there. So, all right, we got that. So we're going to do the same thing on the back. So there's a bit of what looks like to be some pinching there inside the mesh. So I'm going to have to, we'll pick that up when we start kind of cleaning this up a little bit. Let's go ahead. We're going to do the same thing into the back. So we're going to go into the back. I'm going to go ahead and do another Shift A. We're going to go into add a mesh. Let me make sure I do cube this time. 0, and y'all know the routine. Scale it down. Let's go ahead and go into edit mode. Actually, let me move this whole thing more forward. Go into edit mode, and I want to have this meet the shape. Let's do there, because it kind of bows in that way. And then scale those out. Yeah, it looks like it's right there. Let's scale that out a little bit more there. And let's take a look at the top just to make sure it jives there. Yes, it does. So good. Go ahead and select this. Let's go back into the modifier, add Boolean. Select that. Now, see, that's weird. Apparently, this thing doesn't. Um, yeah, see, that is so weird about how that works. And I don't know if that's a bug within this. And I know there's a new version. If you remember over there when I went into intersect, it it cut out the front portion and it left that back portion there. Here it seems to be doing something different where I think I'm going to have to go into difference to get that effect that, yeah, I have to go into difference now. And I don't know if that's a bug with the blenders. There's a new version. I'm going to go ahead and try downloading that, and that might probably fix some things, but I don't know. Now, I think there's also, let me look at this other picture here. I think there's also some additional work that I need to. No, actually, yeah. All right, there is a little bit of extra work that I need to do on the top um, because it actually goes in a bit to where there is the shuttle bay area. It's very difficult to see. I think this line right along here is that shuttle bay area. That's what it's looking like to me. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to probably do an additional cut, yeah, right up into here along that shuttle bay, and which that should be pretty much simple. I'm going to go ahead, it'll just be doing the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out and work on this, get that other additional cutout right there and cut back in. And that's only the top portion. The bottom portion, right now I have this piece being separate from this piece, but I'm going to try to see if I can join this piece to this piece eventually, or just model a whole other piece entirely. So these two can be completely together. So I'm going to go ahead, cut out, finish this, finish booleaning it back, and I'll cut back in and we'll take a look back here. So I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, I've just got finished doing all the cuts and it's not too bad. I still need to go through and clean up quite a few things, but that's like that with all these operations. I've also discovered that this back portion here is a little bit too high. So I'm going to need to readjust the contours of this to make this to where this right here is a little bit shallower. It's just one of those things that I didn't discover until I started redoing the whole saucer section, which is why I wanted to do the saucer section anyways. So I'm going to take care of that off screen, but it also as well as the cleanup. But yeah, the Boolean operator seems, besides the bug that I mentioned, and it trying to figure out the best way to split the mesh. Like we got something like right here. I mean, that has something, lead that needs to be desired, but, no. But beyond that, it's not too bad. So, it actually kind of works, and it's just, you know, it really saves a lot of time for me trying to move vertices around and cut all these things by hand. So going in and cleaning up a lot of these, little areas here and fixing some of the stuff like this, going, like that right there, that I can deal with. That's no problem. But we'll take care of that off screen. So to go ahead and finish up this episode, let's take a quick look back at this weapons pod here. And we're going to take these and I'm going to see what I can do about, manipulating them. One thing that some people have mentioned is that these might probably be a rotary type system. And I kind of like the idea in itself of a rotary system to where, this is a circular block. You got this right here. And then, actually, I don't know how that would probably look, circular wise, but maybe, it could probably work circular, but I'm not going to go that type of route. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do what I originally intended. We're going to go ahead and fix these torpedoes, but I'm going to try to make one to be more pointed towards the back and the other one pointed more towards the side. It looks like that this ship would definitely need more torpedoes launching to the back than to the sides, because I found out that there's actually two sets of torpedoes right here on the sides. I never saw that before, but you got two torpedoes facing this way and two torpedoes facing that way. So the necessary for side torpedo launchers isn't that important, but let's go ahead and work on that. So let's see. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to work on one. And rather than just trying to restart it, I'm going to go ahead and try working with the one that we got. Let's go ahead. Oh, and I fixed that area on the side. So let me see. Okay. Now, once again, this is where I'm going to do a little bit of different interpretation, quote unquote, interpretation of the design, because I think all they did is just took this, copied it, and pasted it over here. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a torpedo launcher, this into a torpedo launcher, so that line that is right here where these edges bevel is actually going to be here and here. So let's do that. I think that would work. What I am going to go ahead and do is I'm going to delete. Let's go ahead and do a face select. We'll do that. Do that. Do a control plus. Delete only the faces. There we go. And oh, let's delete those faces as well. Oh, apparently it is a mirror modifier still applied to this, but that's fine. Actually, that would make it a lot easier. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm going to delete actually those vertices, so I'm doing a lot more than I intended. Let's go ahead and let's just do this. Face. There we go. And let's do a control R. Actually, we probably don't need that. Let's go ahead and delete those. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it with all this additional work I'm doing, I probably should have went ahead and just started anew. But, oh well. Let's see. So we got that. We got that. So we got the faces. I'm going to go ahead and move these. Actually, we just need to move. We'll move the whole thing in. We'll go like that. Then we'll move this out. It's actually, it's not really quite going to the back like I was hoping it would. So let's, well, yeah, I think we can still, yeah, I think that will still work. It'd be kind of off in a weird little angle, but yeah, I think it would still work. So extrude. I'm just kind of just roughing this out a little bit just to kind of give you the idea of what I'm wanting to do. Oh wait, I need to probably fix those interiors too. So that's actually, let's do that right there. Okay, there we go. Kind of fix on that end. So let's go ahead and select this face. Extrude. Oh, let's go ahead and get rid of clipping. And let's go ahead and try doing a control B. Let's see what we can do about beveling that. Oops. Control B. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's go with that, shall we? Okay. Then we're going to go extrude that, bring that down, and now going to go that way with the torpedo launcher. Ooh, that might be a bit too big. Yeah, it's a bit too big. Well, I could do more work on it, but we're going to go kind of look like that. So therefore, now on this weapons pod, we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight torpedo launchers. I think they said there's only supposed to be a total of 15 on this ship, so eight torpedo launchers should be more on this, should be more than adequate. And keeping in mind is that I've had the idea to wear two of these. Now, actually, they mentioned that two of these were supposed to be dedicated quantum torpedo launchers. So I kind of like the idea that I went ahead and kept it to where these two are regular torpedo launcher or are primary, are different than these two. So we can actually have to where there's two quantum torpedo launchers and two photon torpedo launchers that are facing in the front. And then from the back, we have photon torpedo launchers strictly on the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working on this. We're not going to get to me putting in the uh, uh, marking the seams and everything, but we could do that later on down the episodes because now that we got this hull here done, we can go ahead and start moving forward with trying to get the shapes of the ship to, get the catamaran hull to, get it up to specs, get a lot of these little hull plating details on it, get all these little small details, get the windows and everything all modeled so it can really start taking shape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the episode off right here. This is B-Belt Dan. I just want to thank y'all for watching. Please leave any comments or suggestions or questions that you might have in the comments below. I really do appreciate it hearing back from y'all guys that are watching my clips. And I apologize real quick that the episodes, that my videos are about now reduced to once a week. I think I mentioned it in the Enterprise J episode, but I got a little project that I'm doing right now, and so I'm almost done with it. And when I'm done with it, I might probably do a quick little video on what I did and kind of give y'all a quote unquote tour of that project. So, and once I get done with that project, I'm going to go back to 2 episodes a week and it's going to be alternating between I'm going to do the Enterprise J and the Klingon Bird of Prey in Minecraft on one week, and the next week I'll be doing the this Akira class and another project that I'm going to be getting started on. So, or at least that's the plan. Let's hope for it. Knock on wood. So once again, thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in the next episode.